Welcome to the Bariatric Nutrition Coach Podcast, where we empower you with weight loss surgery, nutrition knowledge, mindset advice, and inspiration, so you succeed in your weight and health journey. I'm your host, Jane Stoltz, and I am a bariatric dietitian who has helped over 1,300 people on their weight loss surgery journeys. I'm also a solo mum, lover of long walks while listening to podcasts, partial to a glass of wine, and the ocean is my happy place. Join me as I dive deep into bariatric nutrition and lifestyle topics and deliver them to you in bite-sized, palatable episodes every Monday. Now let's go. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of my podcast. And this week I wanted to chat about mindset for weight loss surgery success. And I know the topic of mindset gets talked about a lot, and it's a very relevant and very important topic for being successful after having your weight loss surgery, not just in the early days, but also in the longer days after your surgery. Many people will say that the emotional journey after having weight loss surgery is a lot more challenging than the physical journey. And it is not surprising because after your weight loss surgery, there's so much behavior change can happen in relationships, with the body, being really challenged by a lot of those old dieting habits that come into that post-weight loss surgery journey and how they can really disrupt your journey. Also, how you see the weight loss surgery journey being, and often people come into their bariatric journey with a certain way that they think it's going to happen, with a certain view of how it's all going to happen and roll out, so to speak, because they have friends that have had certain experiences. And I do say to everyone that I chat to, if it comes up, everyone's experience is different. Everyone will have challenges at different points, and it is your own individual journey. In this episode, I wanted to share with you 5 different points that will help you improve your mindset after your weight loss surgery journey. So this is suitable for anyone thinking about having surgery or at any stage after having bariatric surgery. And I'm going to go through each of these points and give lots of examples. And when you're listening to the examples I give and the points, you may want to reflect and see if this is an area that you could improve on, that maybe you could take on this mindset point and really work on to improve it in your own journey. So let's start with point number 1. And I'm also not rolling these out 1 to 5 in any particular order. I'm just doing them as I've written them down. So number 1, I have focus on what you have control over. And I'm going to explain exactly what I mean. And if anyone has read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People or have done the course, because it's been around for many, many years, it's delivered in many corporate settings. It's a book and a methodology for being more effective, not just at work, but in life. And one of the key habits is to focus on what you have control over. So you can look at your whole bariatric journey and look at all the different parts of your journey and all the different things that you've got on your plate with what you're struggling with. And I help my clients do this, work out what do they have control over and what they don't have control over. And it might surprise you, but I really get my clients to very much focus on changing habits and building the habits that are going to get them the results that they want. Often, many people are very much focused on the number that they get when they're on the scale. Well, guess what? Weight is a lag measure. Weight is an outcome. Whereas our focus can be very much on weight, and that can be that the 100% focus on what we're paying attention to, or 90%. We want to really come back and focus and put more of our attention and energy and monitoring on practicing the key habits, great food choices, and key eating habits that are going to set us up not just for the short term and get the result you want, but also the habits that are going to help you keep that result. Another example for this mindset tip is when I'm talking about focusing on what you have control over. It could be that you are struggling with your fluid intake after your weight loss surgery. You have a very busy schedule. You have a job that really makes it very challenging to get adequate fluid. And people can get very stuck, say, in that situation and feel really stuck and don't know how to get out and really concentrate on all the things that are getting in their way of getting fluid. Not liking plain water, or that's not going down very well, and all of the different things that can make it really challenging to drink enough fluid. What we want to move into a more positive, action-based mindset of where are my opportunities to drink in the day? How am I going to remind myself to drink at those times? Are there other things I haven't tried that could be or make fluid more enticing? What have I got to do? What can I do to move myself closer towards my goal? So not focusing on the negatives, really being into focusing more on the positives and the actions and the small things that you can do to help you reach your goal. So it's very natural to get really stuck and focus on all the things that you can't change or where you're struggling. A positive mindset is being able to put those things aside, focus on what you can have impact on. What small change can you make this week? Not 5 things at once, 1 or 2 things at once, and focus and put more of your energy and attention on those. Because when we put more of our energy and attention on the things you have control over, the impact of those grows, and then you will see those positive outcomes. So mindset tip number 1 was focus on what you have control over. Tip number 2 is a very challenging one for many people, and it's a challenge not just in the area of bariatrics, but it's for everyone, human beings. Stop comparing yourself to others. And I've talked a lot about this at different points in my social media before, because it is such a common struggle for people. Will say, I have had surgery on exactly the same day as somebody. They were basically the same weight as me, but they've lost more weight. And the attention and mind and the thoughts can focus on that information. And essentially it brings people down. It makes them feel less successful. Their attention is more on what they haven't done. And this really does link to number 1, focusing on what you don't have control over. But it also is information that is not positive for your mindset. And it's just human nature. If you go through social media, you are going to pick out the people that you feel, and I'm using air quotes, have done or are doing better than you. We don't seem to notice the ones that aren't doing as well, if we're going to be using that language. And it's a very powerful thing to really move away from comparing yourself to others. It's very much around focusing on your journey. You are an individual. There are so many different factors that impact outcomes after surgery. Age, how much weight you had to lose and begin with, past medical history, past bariatric surgeries, medications, activity levels. There's a vast range of things that will impact outcomes after weight loss surgery. You are your own person. It is your journey, and it is really, for many, many people, a great step to move away from comparing themselves to others. I have heard of the term decluttering used in this topic, and we think of like decluttering our house, taking out the things that we don't need, that aren't serving us anymore. And it's a very relevant word to use in this topic with social media. And it can be not only with social media, but sometimes it can be friends that aren't always the people that are encouraging, and you don't always feel uplifted when you've spent time with them. From a social media perspective, I've had clients say they've decluttered, and that is gone through who they are following on social media and stopped following them. And a way to guide you on who you want to follow, on what you want to read, is how does that make you feel after you've seen that material? Do you feel more inspired? Do you feel supported? Do you feel that person is kind, that there's not that comparison coming in? Any of those kind of questions to ask yourself when you're reading or following somebody or consuming any kind of online information. Does this make me feel better? Does this serve me? Does this help me feel more positive about my journey? Because when we feel better about ourselves, we're more likely to do and practice habits that are self-caring, that are healthy habits. When we don't feel as good about ourselves, we're more likely not to care for ourselves and choose habits, and eating habits come into this big time, and choose foods that aren't going to serve us. So maybe that is something to consider if you're listening to this and sometimes you see somebody online that you've been following and you want to see what they're doing, but you just don't feel as good once you've seen it, then that's an indication that maybe they're not the best person for you. And you can search out, if you like and you want inspiration and you want to follow people, you can search out people that you feel probably a bit more connected to, that have more of a, this is my individual journey. And when you see their material, you just feel more inspired and supported. So that was tip number 2, stop comparing yourself to others. Mindset tip number 3 is know, and I've put heart and head, that surgery is only a tool. And I'll explain this. I've put heart and head because often we can know things in our head, but we don't always kind of fully connect to it. So we're not fully aligned with the thoughts, and we have other thoughts in our heart that maybe things are going to be a bit different. And I'll explain what I mean. It is not uncommon for me to talk to people, and even if they didn't really resonate with this in the early days, they do get a bit further down the track and they might say, I actually felt or thought that the surgery was going to do all the work for me. And I would get to a certain point after a certain amount of time and I'd be where I wanted to be. And then I would just be, air quotes, normal weight person, and I don't have to worry about my weight anymore. And if that is you and you can reflect on this, then I want to let you know, and I say this with absolute kindness, that this is not the case, that surgery does not do all the work for you. It is a tool, it helps you. And the sooner you start learning how to use that tool and using the tool in the early days to help change your behaviors, the more successful you will be, because it's only going to work for so long. Even if you do have some restriction, in the longer term, you still have to listen to your body. You still have to make great food choices. You still have to move your body. And all of those other really what I call foundation or weight loss success habits are really important. And it's a lot easier when you start practicing them, you learn them and you practice them from the early days. Are you going to be perfect? No. Are you ever going to be perfect at them? No. It's a practice and you get better and better. So the thought that the surgery is going to do all the work for you is not uncommon. In some ways, I not blame, but I think lack of pre-surgery education doesn't always support people knowing that the surgery is only a tool, or you may have had it explained and talked about, and the brain says, yes, it's only a tool, but the heart says, no, I think it's just going to do because I want it to. I want it to be my solution. I want it to work, and it's going to do all of the work. So a mindset shift is really getting in the heart and the head that it's only a tool and that you need to do the work. And it's sometimes a little bit scary if you go from that realization, but with support, it is very much an empowering place to be. It's much more empowering when you have some and you have a lot of control over your destiny, over your journey, that it's not all going to be down to what changes have happened in your GI tract on that one day of surgery. So that was tip number 3, knowing in your heart and your head that surgery is only a tool. And this next mindset tip relates to that. And I put it separately because I think it really does deserve to be a separate point. And that is to approach your bariatric surgery as a lifelong commitment. And that once you have bariatric surgery, you're a person that's had bariatric surgery. And this is a commitment for the rest of your life to live well, be healthy, and practice healthy habits, have great self-care, and make the most of your surgery. And this does relate to the tip 3 in the sense also that many people have shared with me over the years that they thought they would get to a year out after surgery and they're done. It's done. They're back to being, air quotes, a normal person. Nothing's going to be different. They won't want to eat anything that they used to eat. They won't want to eat discretionary foods. They won't have cravings. They won't have a lot of appetite. They feel that if they do, even if they get to their goal weight, done, their body's going to stay there. And unfortunately, that is not the case. It is very easy to regain weight after bariatric surgery. Your metabolic rate drops as a result of that surgery. And there's a lot of healthy habits, and I call it relaxed self-monitoring, needed in that longer journey to live well and keep in that space of having all those lovely benefits out of your surgery. Physical, medical, clothes fitting better, enjoying fashion more. So number 4 is approaching your bariatric surgery as a lifelong commitment. Now tell me, is this you? You have had your bariatric surgery and you're feeling lost, you're lacking support, and you don't know what to eat and when. Or you may have noticed after your surgery, your hunger and cravings have started to return and you are scared you won't reach your goals. You may have had some weight regain and you want to stop the weight regain and lose some more weight. You may be pre-surgery and you want support to be fully prepared for your weight loss surgery journey. If any of these sound like you, then listen up. I have developed my Bariatric Nutrition Bootcamp just for you. My coaching program provides education, coaching, and community for people getting ready for their weight loss surgery and at every stage after their surgery. There are 4 key areas that I focus on with my clients in my Bariatric Nutrition Bootcamp. 1 is the bariatric nutrition basics. You will learn what and how to eat so you feel satisfied, reach your protein and fluid goals, and have less cravings, and know how to manage your hunger in the future. Meal ideas and meal planning. You will learn to plan meals and snacks that you like, so you have great options on hand when it comes time to eat. Also, we focus on mastering weight regain habits, identifying any habits that are stopping you from reaching your goals, and create manageable strategies to get back on the straight and narrow so you can manage your weight for the rest of your life. And also, I focus with my clients in my Bariatric Nutrition Bootcamp on learning to trust your body and food. Start to enjoy your food again by relearning to listen to your body cues so you have less guilt and improve your relationship with food and your body. If you are ready to maximize your weight loss surgery results, feel confident in your journey, and be led with support and expert guidance, then the Bariatric Nutrition Bootcamp is for you. If you would like to know more about my coaching program, check out the link in the show notes. And that can be really daunting, especially if you're pre-surgery or in the early days and you can think, oh, how is this going to look in the long term? Am I going to be eating such tiny portions forever? No, you're not. Are you going to be able to have balance? Yes, you're going to be able to have some of those treat foods, but it takes some time to get there. And there's really stages that you go through to get to that point of living well and really learning those key behaviors. So it is a lifelong commitment. I call it a long game, not a short game. And another example or analogy I give, which probably is not everyone's cup of tea, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And I say that because I'm not a marathon runner, or I'm not a runner. It is not a sprint, it's a marathon, and it's really one step at a time. And what will come up for you after weight loss surgery can be a lot of things, because you may have and likely have dieted for years, struggled with your weight for years. Lots of things come up at different points after your weight loss surgery. It's not all in that first year and then done, everything's gone. It is a lifelong commitment, but that's not to scare you. It is really that mindset of, okay, I'll just going to take one step at a time. And if I need support, I get support. I'll be talking about that next, because this is the rest of my life and I am going to make the most of this surgery. And it's not just 12 months and I'm done. So mindset tip number 4 was approach bariatric surgery as a lifelong commitment. And I alluded to tip number 5 when I was talking about tip number 4. And tip number 5 is being open to getting support when needed. And this is so important. The research shows that when people get support, have their follow-up appointments, and get good support after bariatric surgery, they do better. I've put this as a mindset tip because many people feel that they should be able to do it on their own. And that if they're struggling, people can feel sometimes it's them, and they can feel shame, embarrassment about going back to their bariatric centre or reaching out to someone and saying, I need support. And it's disappointing in the sense that it can really exacerbate the issues, because if you don't fix something or help with something, it can get worse. And it can definitely mean that some people's bariatric journeys are way more challenging than they need to be. But also people don't reach the goals that they could if they got support. I'll give you an example, and it's not bariatric, but it's really very related. So obesity is a disease, and so is diabetes. When people get diagnosed with diabetes, they aren't given a few appointments with a dietitian and given some information, a booklet, and said, and off you go, and come back if you've got any major challenges. They are set up with lifelong support, lifelong education and monitoring, because it is a disease that needs managing and people can't do it on their own. And obesity is the same. There are so many changes. There are so many hurdles and struggles that can come after bariatric surgery. Being open, and this is why it's a mindset point, being open that you don't have to do it all on your own. You don't have to be an island. And I've talked a lot about at different times about having a team, having your primary care provider, your bariatric surgeon, having a dietitian, psychologist if needed, exercise person if needed. All these people that help you reach and keep your goals. It is not a solo journey. And I'm saying that, I obviously support people, but the research shows that people that get support after their weight loss surgery do better. And when I say do better, we're talking at 5 years post-surgery maintained weight at that, say, 5-year mark. And that's a good kind of first stage kind of place to start monitoring. Are you going to be able to eat more over time? Yes. Are you going to have cravings come back? Yes. Are old emotional eating, mindless eating going to come back after surgery? Yes. It's around learning new skills, new tools for your toolbox on how to manage these things in the long term. Not only reach your goals, but keep all of the lovely benefits that you've achieved from your bariatric surgery. So the mindset is about being open to ask for help, being open to go to the person that's most relevant for the help that you need. And it's really important not to feel like you need to do it all on your own and pull back into your own shell, so to speak, and isolate yourself. And when people talk to me about their challenges, I always let them know they are not alone, that the people I chat to and I work with that have struggles, they are common struggles. But often people, if they haven't been reaching out, haven't been connecting with a lot of people, can feel it's just them, or they may have done something. And I never want shame or embarrassment to stop people from reaching out for support. So that is tip number 5, is being open to getting support when needed. So to wrap up this week's episode, I am going to do a recap of my 5 mindset tips. And number 1 is focus on what you have control over. Number 2 is stop comparing yourself to others. That can be the hardest. Number 3 is knowing in your head and your heart that surgery is only a tool and that you still need to do the work. And mindset tip number 4, approaching bariatric surgery as a lifelong commitment. And number 5 is being open to getting support when needed, not feeling like you need to do it all on your own. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. I really appreciate your support. I appreciate the ratings and the subscriptions that I'm getting. I would love you to give me a rating. I'd love you to give me a review or recommend my podcast to someone else. And I know a couple of people have done a snapshot of my podcast and put it into their stories, say on Instagram or Facebook, and shared it that way. And that would be wonderful if you feel other people would get value out of this episode or podcast. So thank you so much, and I really look forward to being back in your ears next week. Bye for now.